Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. Now Anthony Joshua has said previously that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury aren't necessarily on the level he has been to before. He has faced better fighters. Now Anthony Joshua does have a thick resume of top 10 fighters, especially in his last 5 or 6 fights, because Anthony Joshua has continuously faced top 10 opponents, the toughest opponents he can get in the ring, and he has to be commended for that. But Anthony Joshua has faced probably his best opponent in Vladimir Klitschko. You would have to say that. Andy Ruiz, the second fight, was a tough fight for AJ, and I believe it was a better win than the Klitschko one, just considering all of what was going on in the build-up and what he had to overcome in that fight. So I would say the Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch was probably more impressive just because of those facts. But the Klitschko fight was, of course, very impressive. In his 19th fight, to go from knocking Klitschko down to getting knocked down in the next round himself, then still winning the fight, when at some points it seemed like he was out of there. So AJ has had to learn quick. He even said that. He's come up quick and he has been in the deep end longer than Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Now let's have a look at Tyson Fury's resume and Deontay Wilder's. Tyson Fury has a good resume, I would say. He has Vladimir Klitschko, Deontay Wilder twice. He drew the first one, so we can't really call that a win, but we know what happened in that fight. Derek Chisora and Steve Cunningham. Those are likely the best opponents on Tyson Fury's resume. Now, Steve Cunningham, I can't really count too much because his achievements came in the cruiserweight division. He was IBF world champion as a cruiserweight, but at heavyweight, didn't really make waves in that division. He was too small, really. So, Steve Cunningham, yeah, I guess we can put him in there because he was a former world champion. And at that point for Tyson Fury, it did represent a bit of a step up. So the best opponents Tyson Fury has ever faced, Deontay Wilder, Vladimir Klitschko, and Derek Chisora. Not in that order, but I would put Vladimir Klitschko, of course, at number 1 that Tyson Fury has faced. And the same for Anthony Joshua. So what about Deontay Wilder? Who are the best opponents that Deontay Wilder has faced? Tyson Fury, Luis Ortiz, Bermane Stiverne? It would have to be because he was world champion, even though he definitely wasn't the best world champion. So Bermane Stiverne, Luis Ortiz, and Tyson Fury, the best opponents that Deontay Wilder has faced. And Anthony Joshua, Vladimir Klitschko would have to be Andy Ruiz. And I'd probably say Joseph Parker. I would say Alexander Povetkin, but then again, Joseph Parker was an undefeated world champion going into that unification fight with AJ. So it has to be Vladimir Klitschko, Andy Ruiz Jr., and Joseph Parker. So let's look at the best fighters on their resumes. Anthony Joshua, Klitschko, Fury, Klitschko, Wilder, Fury. Fury beat Klitschko, so that's 1-0 to Wilder. Then the next best opponent, Anthony Joshua, must be Ruiz, and Fury would be Wilder, Wilder's would be Ortiz. Ruiz would be all wrong for Wilder in my opinion. I believe he would beat him because look at what happened to Wilder when he fought Fury. Ruiz is an out-and-out inside fighter, would pressure Wilder, and he can take a punch. He's extremely durable, so Ruiz would beat Wilder in my opinion. Ruiz would also beat Ortiz, who would be the next best on Wilder's resume. So that's 1 to Anthony Joshua. Then, the next best opponent, Parker for AJ. Then Chisora for Fury, and for Wilder, it's Stiverne. Now, the funny thing is Parker was going to fight Derek Chisora, but that fight did not happen. So, who would win that fight? Parker or Chisora? I think the best thing we can do is go 1 point for AJ and 1 point for Fury, because that was a fight that could have happened but didn't, and it could still happen down the line. So we'll call that a complete 50-50. Then Parker beats Stiverne, Chisora beats Stiverne, in my opinion. So that means Anthony Joshua 2, Tyson Fury 1, and Wilder 1. So it's pretty even if you consider the levels, but Anthony Joshua clearly has the thicker resume going through top 10 heavyweights, and you would have to believe that most of Anthony Joshua's opponents would beat the opponents of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. And if you look at it a different way, Parker, Ruiz, Klitschko, I don't believe those 3 would beat Fury. Klitschko didn't. So none of those 3 would beat Tyson Fury in my opinion. Ruiz would beat Wilder in my opinion. I believe Klitschko would have also beat Wilder. Parker has a good chance. Now, Klitschko, Chisora, Wilder, the opponents of Tyson Fury. Klitschko did not beat AJ, Chisora probably wouldn't beat AJ, and Wilder AJ is just a complete toss of a coin, a 50-50. 2 power punchers who are both vulnerable at times themselves, but I would still have to go for AJ in that fight. Fury, Stavern, Ortiz. Fury versus AJ, I have no idea. 50-50 completely. Stavern, Anthony Joshua would take him out in a round or two just like Wilder did. Ortiz, Anthony Joshua beats Ortiz in my opinion. So if you put the 50-50 aside, which we do not know at the moment, which is Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, if you put that aside, Anthony Joshua beats Klitschko, Chisora, probably Wilder, Stavern and Ortiz. That's 5 to AJ. Fury beats Parker, Ruiz, Klitschko, Stavern and Ortiz. That's 5 to Fury as well. Wilder likely beats Chisora, although that's not a given because Chisora would really give him a good fight, but we'll give it to him. And he beats probably Parker because I don't think that Parker has the weapons to deal with Deontay Wilder. Ruiz would beat Wilder, Klitschko would beat Wilder. So that's 5 for AJ, 5 for Fury, 2 for Deontay Wilder. So what we are seeing here is that Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury are clearly in a 50-50 fight for undisputed. And top 3 opponents aside, if we look beyond that to top 5 opponents, top 10 opponents, then Anthony Joshua definitely does have the beating of the other 2 in the resume department. But still, in the ring, you would have to believe that Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury is clearly a 50-50, regardless of resumes, because we could go back and forth on resumes all day, but still, at the end of the day, styles make fights. Fury would deal with Ruiz quite comfortably in my opinion, and Anthony Joshua did in the rematch. If you know how to fight him, and you have the abilities, Anthony Joshua does have that boxing ability to outbox Ruiz. We've seen it in the ring. Definitely Tyson Fury does as well. Wilder does not. He would have to box Ruiz and he would not be able to. Ruiz would close him down and stop him. So what we do know is that Anthony Joshua does have the thicker resume of top 10 heavyweights. He has beaten better opposition than both of the other 2. But Tyson Fury still has a huge opportunity to win the fight of undisputed between him and Anthony Joshua. But Anthony Joshua has the same chance because styles make fights, and I believe Anthony Joshua would beat every single opponent on Tyson Fury's resume, and vice versa for Tyson Fury. So the interesting thing and the exciting thing about this is the only way to find out who is better is to see it in the ring. You cannot separate them, and we will only truly know who is number 1 in the heavyweight division when that fight happens. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.